What's up, man? It's perfect timing. I just logged on.
Yep. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Man, that was scaring me there.
No, yeah, you good. It's perfect. I literally just logged on like minutes before you chimed in. Mr. Cooks, what's going on? You got about a half hour, sir. So you want to log off and log back on, or you can stay on. It's up to you.
Yeah,
How's it
like
going,
y'all
doctor?
will just deliver to it. I see Plasma says on Grand High Priest Diaz on here.
And not everybody got talking, but if you want to say something, we'll give it to you at the end. Okay.
And look, the new most excellent Grand High Priest of the great state of Hawaii is on. It was a pleasure seeing them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pumped about it, man. Great pumped about it. Let's get it.
Yeah, it's on y'all, gentlemen. I'm radio silent. I don't think I asked is if we do have a brother who is actually all y'all men of God. If we do have an actual brother that is a man of the cloth, that's all I ask for.
Prayer. Yes, sir.
Yeah, is that we start y'all first great endeavor with a prayer. There it
Totally can
is.
do that
Reverend
for you.
Dr. Mack is already on it, sir. If you want.
All right,
Yeah.
companions, if you would let us go together in corporate prayer. I am that I am. As we humbly come before you this afternoon, we say thank you. We're thanking you, first of all, for the many blessings that you bestow upon us, and those blessings we know that we only get because of grace and mercy. And then, second great one, we're thankful for you allowing us to lay in your world last night and didn't have anything to do with getting us up. But that love, that finger of love that touched us, we rose this morning. And we're thankful to see another Sabbath day. Now, great one, as we speak to you, we're thankful for the thought process behind great Grand High Priest and his lecture team to put together an educational moment for this lovely body and grand body that we call Holy Royal Arch Masons. Let nothing happen that would deter us from learning anything that makes us better than whence we come. And then when we have left this place, this space in learning, we pray that we're better to put light in dark places because there's trouble in the land if we look at the news. And we need to know that we're holy men, as someone once told me, and we can speak truth to power through what we know and how we know. These and all blessings we ask in the risen Christ's name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you, Dr. Mack. I was on mute. Sir, it's y'all show, Grand Lectures.
Yeah. We like I said, we're gonna give a grace period and then we'll get started. G, when you're ready, you let me know. We'll kick it off with the introduction. G's kicking it off, so I'm giving him the opportunity to kind of run his piece today.
All right, it's on
So-
y'all. Hey, it's 1500, y'all. I
Yes,
know.
sir. Okay. Well, 2 more minutes, we'll get started. Greetings, everybody. I'll go ahead and kick it off because by the time we get through some of the preliminary stuff and the housekeeping, we'll do what we do. So, greetings, everybody. Dr. Raul Randall, a companion out of San Diego, California. I'm very, very excited to just start this endeavor. And just let me be transparent in our endeavor. Our endeavor is going to accentuate education and leadership as it pertains to Royal Arch Masonry. Now, I don't know, nobody's ever taken that approach that I know. So Dr. Pace, who you'll hear his voice in a minute, and I'll let him give you his accolades. And then our companion, Julius Rice, Wright, will give you his interpretation. He's not on today, but that's fine. We're going to hold him down anyway. So this team is excited, and I'm going to shut up now. And Dr. Pace, take it over, and let's get started, man.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. Thanks for that invite. Well, let me go ahead and start sharing the screen first, because you know how when you practice things, that's when you start running into challenges. So let that be screen two. And let me know if you can see the screen.
GTG, man.
All right. Well, first of all, good afternoon. I am Dr. Greg Pace from the Oklahoma jurisdiction. And those of you that know me, I'm very passionate about leadership, management, and masonry. So one thing, especially inside of this series that I will be hosting for our podcast, that's what it's going to be focused on. And because I tend to challenge companions and things like that, because when they read through those rituals and understand on that, the one thing I always ask them, hey, how do you apply that to your life? Because again, it's not just reading that ritual, say, okay, you got it. Hey, I'm a Mason. I'm a York Mason. But now I don't really understand a lot of the stories, that was actually taught inside of the Holy Royal about Masonry and how you're going to apply that to yourself. So again, that's what I've been doing here. But again, fraternal greetings, my good companions, and welcome to Sacred Leadership. Again, I am Dr. Greg Pace. I'll be your guide for exploring this leadership series. And it's a series of five lessons, many lectures that I'll be providing. But like I said, they're going to be falling in between Dr. Raul and the other team members. So you won't get it consecutively. But however, once you do finish, you'll have it all together and you'll definitely be able to apply. But like I said, this series that I'm presenting, it came from many years of me as a Mason myself of observation, because again, we have organization, man, full of talent. I'm talking about, from leaders, from all walks of the world. But again, we also have history inside our organization. We definitely have history inside of the York Rite Masonry. And then we also have those resources and things that we have out there. But again, the key part about it now is pulling all that together and now applying that to your daily life. Because again, like I started off earlier, those lessons that we read through and we start about reading the rebuilding of the temple thing, there are lessons behind that you can take and apply to your lifestyle, or you can apply to your chapter or any aspect that you're focused on to make it better. Because again, that's what we're truly trying to do, especially with this series here, is trying to make it better. But I'm utilizing a lot of the things that we have learned on the Holy Royal Ark side. So taking that, bridging that gap, and moving forward. And then, as I said earlier, please, gentlemen, if you have any questions, throughout this lecture, please stop me before I get to the next slide. Because again, I want to be able to give you that fresh response, not to try to go back in history, but I want to be able to give you that correct response up front there. So as we sharing it and we apply it to each other. Again, the purpose of this series, as I said earlier, is to connect Masonic principles, definitely from the York Rite side of the house, to our modern challenges. Show how the symbolism, how the ritual, how unity, how the moral teachings can become practical tools for effective leadership today. Whether you're leading a chapter, court, your company, community, group, or as I said earlier, even yourself. Like I said, taking that, tying that all those good components together, and now applying it to our daily walks, because I know we constantly hear that inside of Mason when he said talking about daily walks now, but taking those principles and things and applying to yourself, and again, as you continue to move forward. In this series that I will be facilitating, there's 5 episodes that I will talk about. Today you're gonna get a taste of number 1, and hopefully it be very enlightening. That it's gonna keep you coming back for even more. Like I said, episode 1. Again, we're going to look at the symbolic lesson of restoration and completion as a model of organization vision. In other words, it's learning how to set clear, inspiring end goals that guide people toward the objective that you're trying to achieve. Episode 2, I'm going to tie in servant leadership through the lens of the Masonic humility and moral duty. And in that episode, again, we'll explore how leading through service, humility, and ethical responsibility create a stronger, more loyal team. When I said loyal, in other words, those committed companions, those committed members, that belongs to your organization. Episode 3, gonna use it's titled "The Ritual as a Framework for Consistency, Discipline, and Shared Culture." I'm gonna talk about that. It'll show how repeatable systems and traditions create stability and unity. And like I said, especially I've had quite a few conversations with Dr. Sean Willis, especially from the capacity that he said that, you have various jurisdictions, but however, there are some common bonds that we do in each, even though we may have the various different jurisdictions, but if they work together, that consistency and discipline, man, that's how we can truly move together, as Royal Ark Masons. So that's what we'll talk about in that episode. Episode 4, again, the role of unity, harmony, and mutual respect and conflict resolution. And team, I know that should spark your interest. Even if you don't skip all the other episodes, definitely come back for episode 4, because we'll definitely be talking about how you can turn a disagreement into an opportunity for growth and cooperation. Because like I said, throughout time, we have multiple jurisdictions. Are we always going to be in peace and harmony? No, but we can take those disagreements and again turn them into teachable moments, but still be productive and what we're trying to achieve. And then the last episode, not my last lecture that I give, but the last episode that's going to be tied to this one is translating the allegories of the royal ark into real world decision making and ethical leadership. Like I started off earlier, I said a lot of times we go through the ritual, we see lessons and we see application side of the house, but we don't know how to apply it. Again, I'm not questioning no one, but inside of that episode, it's where we're going to talk about some of those allegories. And now, how do I fit myself inside of those shoes, and how can I move forward from that? From definitely applying that part about that side house. But as I said before, I jump into the main episode here. Again, these episodes, I say they are not lectures. It's information I'm providing, from my years of research and years of application. But I definitely want to tie it more into a conversation, because the last thing I want to do is for you all to give up your hour, on a Sunday just to listen to great pace. But if you have a question or concern, this is the correct platform for us to address that, for us to talk about it, for us to definitely move forward. And last but not least, everything that I present inside this presentation is it's public friendly. In other words, I'm not poking no one in the eyes, talking about no specific jurisdiction. Even when I provide some of the examples, I'm an Oklahoma Mason. 9 out of 10, I'm probably talking about something where I experienced inside of my journey through Mason in Oklahoma. But that's to let you know, Greg Pace is a traveling Mason. So again, I don't want you to, when you hear that part, I don't just want to say, oh man, Oklahoma is tied to this. Oklahoma's really screwed up. No, 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 no. What I'm trying to talk about is just, hey, this lesson again, learning those principles in masonry, what we're doing, and now applying it to yourself, and then you being able to go back and apply it to any jurisdiction, that you go into. Again, that ties back to that unity and that harmony and the respect and the consistency across the board. And then I'll pause there. Are there any questions or concerns about where I am going to try to go, especially inside of the Sacred Leadership series of those 5 episodes, that I will be providing?
Dr. Pace, just to interject, gentlemen, if you have questions that you may not want to voice, just put them in the chat and I'll bring them up to Dr. Pace throughout the presentation. The chat is open.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir. That's what I'm talking about, especially when you have a team.
You got a hand raised, sir, for Dr.
Okay,
Willis.
sir.
Y'all know it's just Sean. Y'all two, this y'all team, lecture team, is just Sean. So, Greg, how often will the series be provided to folks? Is it every other month like y'all were initially?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The series will be provided every other month. But remember, sir, we're gonna rotate out and facilitate it. So my series that I'm presenting composed of those 5. So like I said, the next time we get on, you won't be hearing from Great Pace. You're gonna be hearing from my battle buddy. But we'll still be able to pick up on all of those lectures, and time we finish, we'll be able to have all of it, because Dr. Raul is actually recording these. So you always can go back and be able to listen to it and tie in, especially if you want to get to a specific lesson or specific lecture that we're providing. Yes, sir. Great question.
Mr. McCormick has his hand raised.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the recognition. The slides that you just had up, or that one slide that talked about the 5 things that you will talk about tonight, and this may just be for me, but can you email me that? Because what I'd like to do is share it with my district. And I know most excellent Grand Dickinson's aware that I'm on this call, but kind of give him some kind of report of what was covered. He may want to share it with the jurisdiction, but I definitely want to cover it through the slide presentation to my district here in North Carolina.
Yes, sir. No problem. But keep in mind, the 5 that I'm showing up here now, I'm only gonna cover 1 episode.
That's fine.
That's gonna be episode 1. But the other ones are just to keep you interested.
There you go.
When Dr. Raul, when him and I was talking, and we're gonna keep you hungry.
Yeah, and that's the way I want to approach it.
Yes, sir.
I want to be able to say, this is what you missed, companions. Try to get on the next, because I'm going to put in my email that, hey, every other month, this is what's coming. So you've already missed one. Hopefully I can take some notes to kind of share, but I just, like you said, keep them hungry.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I learned that from Dr. Sean Willis.
And also, Mr. McCormick, after the series concludes each time, I'll edit the video and post it on YouTube as well. So there'll be both a visual and audio representation for companions to look at as well.
Well, as soon as you send it out like you did before, whoever sent it before, as you saw, you were in my loop of communication.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
let them know this is where you need to go.
Yes, sir. Let's get started.
Yes, sir.
Now, catching back up, the question you should be asking yourself now, or maybe the membership would ask you, why does this matter? Again, our institution, especially from the Holy Royal Ark Masons, we definitely strive when leadership and management align with shared values. Again, the lesson of the Holy Royal Ark, can help leaders, especially in these 5 series, again, lead with vision and purpose, serve with humility and integrity, build upon unity in diversity, resolve conflict and respect, and definitely make decisions anchored in ethics. Because again, that's that key part on that part is that ethics part. If we apply these principles, we strengthen not only our organization, but also the bond between all of the brothers and sisters in our community and those various jurisdictions. Because again, think about the makeup of the General Conference. Multiple jurisdictions come together, and a lot of times, well, I know for a fact, each one of those jurisdictions, we have a different leader. But again, how can we mold and mine all this together, so we can actually definitely move out in a consecutive effort. Again, as we move forward, definitely want to definitely be engaged. But with all that being said, now that I hype myself up, about the 5 lectures, now I'm definitely finna jump into the very first lecture, what we definitely shared and was talking about. This one is let me see how it's restoration and completion as an organization vision. Remember, when I started off earlier, I said I want to take the Holy Roller lessons and things that we read about, and now apply it to our daily lives, and how we're doing it. So again, this episode is titled "The Symbolic Lessons of Restoration and the Completion of Models of the Completion as Models for Organization Vision." In Rollock Mason, the theme of rebuilding and fulfilling aren't just ceremonial. They're deeply practical. They remind us that no matter how great of loss or challenge, restoration is possible, and the completion is our ultimate goal in any worthy endeavor, that we go after. So again, having that vision, having that shared vision of your leaders, because that's what the leader wants the body to be able to do. Share those visions, share that vision of completion, because you're going to see later in the lecture when I talk about the rebuilding of the Second Temple, there was some disharmony, but however, they had that shared vision when they moved forward, and they was able to complete, that objective, that they saw out to do. In the Royal Ark, we see restoration as a journey, recovering what was lost, rebuilding stronger, and completing the work with honor. In the leadership terms, this is parallel to the process of defining and achieving the organization vision. Leaders must identify what's missing, design a path to reclaim it, and see the project through until it's complete. And a lot of times, that's the challenge, because sometimes we get, especially in our organization, because our leaders are elected through the ballot. So sometimes they may not be able to see clearly, but this is where the body comes into play, to help that organization, stay focused, stay designed. But however, just keep in mind though, that leader is the head. And so again, help them clearly articulate that vision is where it's really going to help us. Completion isn't just finishing the task. It's about fulfilling the purpose. It's about aligning between the mission, people, and outcome. And as long as we have our elected leaders, especially inside our body, keeping that part in focus, trust me, companions, we won't have no challenges. Well, we'll still have challenges, but we'll definitely know how to overcome them. As a key, without a clear end goal, without the sense of completion, the team loses direction. It's like traveling without a known destination. Most of us know, especially in Mason, we always talking about we're traveling toward these, but again, we know the destination that we're traveling to, But why? Keeping yourself informed, keeping your motives clear and your direction straight. The roll arc reminds us that leadership isn't only about motion; it's about moving toward a clear, meaningful end. Holy roll arc message of rebuilding and fulfillment reminds us that every organization must have a clear vision of its end goal. Leaders can use this lesson. What I want to do is have leaders utilize this lesson to inspire their teams, to move toward a purpose and a complete outcome. That's why I love when the gentleman chimed on and said, "Hey, can I get a copy of these slides? Because I want to be able to share that with my jurisdiction, just to show them what they're missing again." And that's the key to things that we do. We inform, we educate, and we share. Sometimes we get stuck on the part of sharing because leaders say, "Hey, man, I don't want to share my information and things that I have." But again, for us to be able to move forward, this is how we're going to be able to do it. In the Holy Roll Arc, we labor to rebuild the temple, not just in stone, but in purpose. The labels symbolize, our unwavering commitment to complete and perfect work. I know I want keywords in there because again, this is how we're going to come back and understand, those lessons, those things that we do, that we learn inside of the Holy Roll Arc, how we can come back and now apply them principles to ourselves. And just to let you know, Rick Payson just brainstormed this, this is tied to the bank. So what I want to share with you now is the historical context. In the rebuilding of the second temple at Jerusalem, as recounted, in the book of Ezra, the people labored under opposition, scarcity, and doubt. Yet they worked with the end in mind, the restoring the sanctuaries. I'm getting all stuck now because I need to drink a little water here of the sanctity of their faith. So again, like I said earlier, we always gonna have things when a leader sets out their vision. You always gonna have what I call some of those naysayers, that go in there, that challenge that. But again, long as you share that from a historical perspective, long as you share that, man, we're gonna do it. The symbolic reference, the temple's completion form is the organization vision. A clear and inspiring image of the future that directs every chisel strike and every lifted stone. So in other words, see how I tied that into that completing that temple is what we're trying to do now for our organization vision. You have to keep those members involved and keeping them focused on what you're trying to achieve. How we tie this to the roller arc, recovering the completion of the sacred work despite obstacles mirrors our labor toward a perfect vision. In other words, yes, they had challenges and struggles by them, but again, no one gave up. They still had that leader there to keep them motivated and directed toward that. And where you can find this in the Bible, because you always have someone that tries to challenge you on that part, but where you can show them where it's time. Ezra 1-6, when you had Cyrus' decree to rebuild the temple, he returning from exile and the land of the foundation. Nehemiah 1-6, rebuilding of the wall of Jerusalem amidst oppression, opposition, but they still stay focused. In Haggai 1-2 and Zechariah 4, the pathetic encouragement to complete the work. Because that's what we have to share, especially as holy roll arc masons. We have to continue to encourage others in your shared vision on how you communicate that part, to be able to be effective. And like those that know me, when we go through all of this, the first thing someone always ask me, "Hey, Greg or Companion Pace, and how do I apply this, to my daily life? How do I apply this inside the chapter, so that I know that I'm doing right?" So guess what? I added this out of this presentation, inside this lecture, how to apply that. So as we translate, this into the workplace, into the chapters, the courts for the women's side of the house, because again, this is management and leadership is not just for the men; it's also for the women's too. First, leaders must define their vision, not just vague aspirations, but a valid picture of the desired outcome. Second, they must communicate that vision consistently. That's that key word in there, consistently across the board, so that everyone knows what completion looks like. Third, they must break down the restoration process into achievable phase. In other words, don't go out there, hey, I'm finna change and fix this organization overnight. Companions, I'm here to tell you that won't happen. But however, if you break it down into small bites, small phases and things like that, trust me, your success will be able to be celebrated at the end. And that's what I get into the fourth one is celebrating that progress. In other words, as a leader of organization, once you communicate that vision, that goal, constantly communicate back to the organization, tell them how we're doing. Don't be afraid to say, hey, we missed the mark on this one. We did not achieve this overall objective, but don't get stuck on that part. Then this would then give you the opportunity to how you can develop that skill set to overcome that one obstacle that you then really effectively achieve. But again, it's definitely how you get there. So what I want you to take away from this, again, yes, when you get into restoration, often it means confronting the uncomfortable truths. You might tell you about you're not going to achieve everything, but however, in organizations that could be declining membership, outdated practice, Dr. Raul, we was talking earlier about that. Outdated practice. In other words, we don't want to take away from the historical aspect on how we as Masons perform. But however, there are tools and things out there that can help us develop a better approach to getting to it. So that's what I mean about that. So again, visionary leaders acknowledge these issues. They inspire the people and with the possibility of a better future. In other words, you don't want a leader coming in and say, "Oh man, we're doomed. Hey, our membership is failing. Hey, we can't progress forward. Hey, but this is how we're going to do that." Something I got a hot mic,
I
but
got you.
as okay, as I shared with you earlier, and Dr. Raul was both were talking about this. You always have to tie case studies into it, examples of how these things work. Again, don't go out here and say, well, Greg Pace, man, he was there talking about Oklahoma and the challenges that he had and all those good things. But again, this can be applied in a way. One case study, again, I worked in an organization, not saying that it's Oklahoma, but I worked in an organization, again, where we lost half of our membership, over a 10-year period. Applying the restoration model, establishing the vision, communicating your direct purpose, to the organization all day. Man, we was able to overcome those challenges. I'm talking about where it started, where the membership truly just start growing and never stop. And it's continue to progress to that level now. So again, that's the key. Once you apply the restoration principle, and keep in mind now the restoration principle is tied back to communicating that vision that you want, identifying some of the challenges and then communicating those success, so the members know that what you're doing and how you're applying this is actually working. Another example that I want to use again, because I just don't want you to think in that Masonic term, because sometimes there's a challenge in translating Masonic terms to real life work. So now another example is in business. You normally go into departments, they normally struggle, turn around from defining a clear state, because again, when that leader or that manager communicate what they're trying to achieve, they don't make it clear. So in other words, members miss that, they miss that step. So now they can't achieve the objective because it haven't really been clearly articulated. So that's the part I'm trying to get to. That makes sure you communicate that part is right. Because keep in mind, this is not magic. It's not magic that you can do it. It's the structured principles of leadership that you apply that achieves and gets you to that successful endeavor that you're trying to achieve. Lastly, what I want you to take away from this, again, define your restoration goals. In other words, knowing exactly what you aim to do, what you aim to rebuild, communicate the vision, ensure that everyone understands your destination and their role in reaching it. Let me repeat that one. Communicate your vision. Ensure that everyone understands the destination and their role in reaching it. In other words, that's again keeping everyone in part. And then measure progress. Celebrate those small completions. Celebrate those small successes. In other words, because that's what's truly letting everyone else know, hey, that Greg Pace is applying the principle correctly. Greg Pace is involving me. So, but again, tying back into the Holy Roll Arc, in the Holy Roll Arc, the work of rebuilding the temple symbolized the pursuit of a worthy and a complete end state. This teaches us as leaders that every organization must clearly define its ultimate purpose before starting the journey. A vision without clarity leads to wasted effort. One grounded in a complete and inspiring goals give direction to every worker to know their role and how they complete it. Leaders should articulate a long-term vision that connects daily work to the finished temple. The complete realization of the mission and the values, this is where we're truly trying to achieve and where we can get after. In closing, I want to wrap up this episode of Sacred Leadership, because it focuses on the lesson of restoration and completion, reminding us that as leaders, we are builders of the future. When you set clear vision and guide your people toward fulfilling it, you not only achieve the goal, you restore purpose, and everyone achieve. And I always told you, especially when I build slide deck, every picture that I use, the picture is for a purpose, and I know Dr. Sean Willis, he's on here, and I'm not saying that just to make him smile, but I use that picture for a primary purpose. He is the new elected leader, for our General Grain Conference. He has a vision where we should hold him accountable. That key word now, what we should hold him accountable is that he communicate his vision clearly to us, as members of that team, so that we can all achieve those collective results that he's trying to get after. And lastly, what I want to take you away now, because again, this is the professor in me. So not that I'm giving you homework, but this is something that I definitely want you to think about. The key takeaways, from this lecture was keep in mind, leadership and management must align with core values. The Holy Roll Arc offers practical and ethical guidance for modern challenges. And like I said, all of these lessons, these many lectures, episodes that I provide, they're all connecting back to the Masonic principles to real world leadership application. And remember, I talked about homework, but it may not be homework, but again, it's just something as you share and you start talking about the vision, that you can keep it going. What you should be asking yourself, where in your life do you lead, formally or informally? And the second question, that reflection question I want you to think about is how do your current leadership practice or principles align with your values? Because again, remember I told you, when they was rebuilding that temple, it wasn't an easy task. But however, they was able to achieve that because the motivation, sharing those common goals, those common values, and that common interest in that end state is what kept them active. And that concludes this lecture. And what I want to do now is definitely open up to questions, because as I said earlier, I know you don't just want to hear Greg Pace talking, but this is where we share things and we definitely get together.
Greg, go ahead and drink a little bit of water, because I understand that talking. Hell of a lecture. Before we open up for questions, just want to kind of interject this piece and hit some highlights. As we do this, we want to send you away with something very, very impactful each and every time. There were some things that Greg said that were pretty key and significant that we should take away also. In addition to what he has already told you, he said something, begin everything with the end in mind. Now, I'm an avid reader, and I read was it Monday Morning Leadership by Dave Cottrell, and he said that in business and in organizations, we should begin everything in the end in mind. So then my question to this body is, how do we do that as leaders? When we get elected in December, we have a tool. It's called the trestle board. On said trestle board, do we do a vision statement? Because we want to be clear. We want to clearly state our goals. And our goals and our ambitions are clearly stated on the trestle board, but we don't use the trestle board as a tool. I digress, because we'll get into a lot of that later. The last takeaway is this: humility in leadership. Be a selfless leader, not a selfish leader. And having said that, let's open it up for questions.
Hey, I got one. I was dropping things in the chat. I don't know if everyone has the chat open, right? But I saw also he dropped some, said it's about adapting the times without abandoning our core identity. Yeah, I'm all with that. And what I was gonna ask based off of that, Raul and Greg, just like rebuilding that second temple, right? We're looking at it, it had some of the traditional things from the first temple, but it had to evolve as well. And maybe that's something we need to look at. Or I don't know about the rest of y'all. Does some see that as one of the harder challenges, right? Trying to get some of our companions and folks sometimes to understand that, hey, in order for us to grow and sustain and maintain, right? Sometimes we may have to look at changing, or not so much as changing, evolving traditions while still maintaining the spirit and tenets of the order. And I saw Western Alliance president come on. What's y'all thoughts on that?
Most excellent. I think you're right on it when you say we have to evolve. I perceive that as not only do we need to evolve with our ideologies of how we're going to do things, but we need to evolve with the technology that's constantly changing. We can learn to integrate both change from a literal standpoint, along with change from a technical standpoint, and then get our members, mainly our older members, to embrace these changes. We'll be able to move leaps and bounds forward. And I heard Dr. Randall mention this in the beginning. Most of you weren't online yet, but he was talking roughly about a QR code. And that's one of the steps in evolution. We got to get away from doing things the old antiquated ways that we're so accustomed to because it's easy, or because we're conforming to someone else, as to allowing ourselves and our organizations to grow.
Yeah, I agree. And I can tell you this too, just to kind of piggyback off of Diaz, what Diaz was talking about. Dr. Maya Angelou said, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. We have to change our attitude toward masonry as a whole. And we do have to evolve, because if we don't evolve, we're going to become extinct. Questions, sirs. This is an open forum at this point. So we just want to get just open dialogue. Feel free to unmute yourself. No hand raised. Just open dialogue.
What's some of your leadership experiences? What we got? I saw somebody.
Hey, Dr. Randall, this is a companion owns. I apologize for not turning my video on. I'm here with the kids, but
Well, you're
want to make
you're a Marine, so we understand. You're good.
thanks, Doctor. Just want to make a comment about the vision statement. I think that would be very an important tool to utilize in the chapter. I mean, I think it would give brothers a sense of to seeing things that we accomplished through the years. So instead of coming out in January with a bunch of fire and then things kind of die down in July, I think that's a good way to keep the momentum going and brothers engaged in the chapter for fundraising and as far as learning as well.
Yeah, leadership is about energy, and energy is cyclical. And if you come in with lack of energy, then that is the culture of your organization. If your culture is tainted, your organization will be fractured. But it starts with your energy, right? You have to essentially lead from the front, but ultimately you have to be selfless and lead from the back. So I agree with you in that vision statement.
And
Go ahead.
keep in mind, companions, remember I talked about a lot of things that we do in masonry. We already have those tools and a lot of teaching, but now it's going back and applying it. 'Cause remember, I talked about inside the episode is celebrating the success. We do that in our stewardship report, but guess what? Most of us do that at the end of the year. So a lot of times there has already been some elapsed, and a lot of people, I said a lot of people, a lot of the companions that are part of that, man, they miss it. Yeah, some of them be listening to your stewardship report, but yeah. But it just it's our time. But if you can take your stewardship report that you do and constantly, break it up into quarters, break it up into however often that you want to do it. Greg Pace won't tell you how to suck an egg, but I just provide you the tools and do it. But just keep the membership informed, because again, your stewardship report is documenting your success. Well, hopefully it's documenting your success. The things that you laid out inside your vision. But now just communicate. Don't just share that with them at the end, because trust me, half of the membership probably got a memory like mine. They probably forgot what our goal was, what our vision was. But constantly do that. And the key part about that, and Dr. Rowley and everyone talked about it, is communicating it. How we communicate that, that's where, again, where our success in whatever endeavor that we're working on. Yes, sir.
Yeah, these are relationship buildings, right? And all of these endeavors are relationship building. And in relationship building, what are the two things that we value or should value most? Communication and trust. And you can go all the way back to the fellowcraft degree, and that winding staircase was your first example of trust. That was your first example, right? That cornerstone, right? Where King Solomon's temple was built, right? Mount Moriah, northeast corner of Jerusalem. That was your cornerstone. So the tools are already there. We just got to dust off our bag and then unzip it and open it and then utilize the tools. But communication and trust and relationships are huge. These are relationships, gentlemen. These are not just fraternal order. These are relationships that you're building, because a lot of these interactions, you're going to have these brothers or companions, which is deeper than a brother, and we'll get into that later, with you for life, till you go and meet your maker. So again, this is going to be a very impactful series, and understanding that we're really going to go deeper than just the surface on leadership. And those that know me personally know, when you talk to me, what we're going to do, we're going to dive into some other topics, and it's going to go off into some rabbit holes. But we're going to bring it back, and then we're going to all understand that we need to get back on the same page. Ultimately, that's what it turns out to be, is we need to get on the same page as an org. So questions. Maybe you're overwhelmed and don't have comments. I don't know. Maybe Greg blew you up. There
Hey,
you
this is
go.
Dale Weaver. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is Dale Weaver from Maryland. First of all, good evening, companions. Dr. Pace, excellent presentation. One thing from the jurisdiction of Maryland, though, one thing that I can say in a positive manner, that we do have, for the past, I don't know, as far as I can remember, every past Grand High Priest has had their vision statement listed in their trestle board, and we try to execute those vision statements along with any other additions. But one thing you were talking about evolving, one of the things I think that would help us evolve, um, so our organizations as a whole, not just Royal Arch, but every organization Masonically that we're involved in is getting older, right? So what we need to do, we need to evolve. We need to start gleaning from our younger companions. We not gather information from our younger companions, because these guys are coming in hot, hungry, educated, and they have a lot to bring to the table. And then, in the past, those of us have been around Masonry for a while knows that, in a lot of our organization, you have older folks that say, "Hey, this is not how we do it. We've always did things a certain way." But if we keep that same mentality, as was stated earlier, Masonry is going to die. So we've got to start coming up with new ideas, new inputs, and then letting those companions run with those ideas. Right? If they come up with an idea, let them run with it, and stand behind them, and then hopefully the organization will increase. One of the things that has evolved is what we're doing right now, this particular Zoom call. 6 years ago, prior to COVID, we wasn't doing any Zoom calls. So now we can actually collaborate with brothers and sisters, across the nation, across the world, to be able to collaborate and to be able to talk to one another and learn from each other's mistakes and things, and grow from what other folks are doing in their particular jurisdiction. That's why I like these forums, and that's why I like coming to the different conferences that we have, just to be able to sit and talk and fellowship and learn from other people, so we're not reinventing the wheel every time. So that's my input. Thanks.
Dale, I think your comment is an excellent one, but I think we as leaders, senior leadership, we have to learn trust. We have to accept trust. We have so many young members that have great ideas that have been brought up in a society embracing technology, yet we hold them back. So if we learn to trust them and give them an opportunity, give them the challenge to be in charge, to run with a program or run with a committee, we might be able to move that needle to the right. And I definitely love that idea.
I mean, it's already manifesting itself at the General Conference. I mean, just the mere fact that Greg, myself, and Julius are here, it's indicative that the pendulum is shifting. And as long as we continue to shift the pendulum, I agree with you, Diaz, that we have to do it. It's non-negotiable at this point.
What I like about those comments from all of y'all distinguished leaders, formal or informal, is, that's where that 3 comes back around, right? We have that, like Dale said, we have the hunger and the technological advances of the youth, right? And then we have us, the current leaders, that have this unique balance, right, of trying to keep the generations that are before us motivated and understanding that, hey, we got to change a little bit. We got to evolve. It's okay, right? And then we got the younger generation that's hungry, that's bringing that fire, and they ready to showcase that they came to contribute, right? And us and the older generations, we can come in and say, hey, that's great, but here's why we got to pace it a little bit, right? And that's where that wisdom of before, the motivation of current, and that third set comes in, and we just gotta keep on working on that delicate balance, right? That's what I think too. What's some other thoughts on it?
Yeah, we got some whisper wise counsel. Rick Barnes said that in the chat. And that's you have to. I mean, knowledge is made to share. It's not made to withhold or keep to yourself or hoard it. So whisper that wise counsel. Somebody did it to you, and just reciprocate, right? Reciprocate that energy. What are some of my mentors? Tell me, pay it forward. Just pay it forward. And the Grand High Priest was just talking. What Sean was just talking about the number 3. But heck, we can even look at the infrastructure of Royal Arch Masonry, 3 by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Jesus died at the 9th hour. We have an example. We got to go find that example. We're striving for that example of perfection. Although perfection on this earth is not yet obtained, we still have a mark. We're beginning everything with the end in mind. We're trying to figure it out. We are trying to figure it out. So, companions, again, we're trying to move the needle with this podcast. I promise you. And you guys have heard me speak. We will bring it every single time. What else do we have? We'd love to hear from y'all. We got a lot of leaders on here. Tino, you got that old AOL dial-up internet again, huh? You're breaking up, Tino.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I'm
put
on
it
my
in the
phone.
chat.
And,
Yeah, put if
can
you
you
can
hear me
put it
now?
in the yeah, a little bit. Go ahead.
What I'm gonna do is disconnect my Bluetooth.
Yeah,
They
if I can.
know.
Hey, sir, how you doing? Hey, my apologies. My camera's off. I'm actually in an Uber headed to the airport now. So I bring you greetings for the Most Excellent Aloha Prince Hall Grand Chapter, Holy Royal Masons, jurisdiction of Hawaii, where I was just elected and installed on Friday as a Most Excellent Grand High Priest. So when we talked about vision and the mission statement, I think it's important to also know as you're going in to identify gaps in your organization, right? And not being afraid to identify those gaps, and to try to fix them. As I gave my acceptance speech, I identified some of those gaps that we had, there's small gaps, or I'm sorry, small comments to fix a large gap in our organization. For example, I'm sure everybody across the Prince Hall Masonry is struggling or the challenges with membership, right? So my vision was simple, right? Reclaim membership, restructure the financial structure of our grand chapter, and most importantly, improve and get up to date with our administrative functions, right? And it's no secret, but if we identify those and not action on them, then you're back in the same place you were before, right? And that's one piece. Second piece is surrounding yourself with your officers who are going to help you carry this vision. Just because somebody's in line doesn't necessarily mean they're qualified to move up, right? And we have to be that honest broker. Say, hey, look, man, I appreciate your service and I appreciate the dedication that you do, but hey, I think I'm gonna need you somewhere else. And we have to have that tough talk with folks, because the problem we have, I think, I'm talking masonry wide, is we don't have those tough talks, and people get in line and they assume these positions, one, when they're not ready, when the membership knows they're not ready, and we set the organization backwards a few years, and the next guy's got to come in, he's got to fix them. So it's important to have those, tough, uncomfortable conversations for the better of our organization. And I can go on and on and on, right? But it's just, those are some of the important things that we got to be honest with ourselves and honest with our brethren.
Yeah, Most Excellent Grand High Priest, Kano, that is a hell of a point. I challenge every leader on this call, as you're leading an organization now, or you will come into leadership, to do a SWOT analysis. I did it when I took office as the Right and Grand Commander. And so I knew I had a vision of what our strengths, what our weaknesses were, what our opportunities were, and then I identified the threats to our organization. That's what Most Excellent Grand High Priest Kano was talking about. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but based on what he just displayed, you have to identify those gaps. But I challenge each of you to do a SWOT analysis. You'll uncover a lot just by doing a SWOT analysis for your organization. And then you'll see it'll be on paper. You can't deny what's wrong, what's right, and what's wrong. And then you can start to fix it. But you can't fix it if you don't know what's wrong. So you have to identify it first. So thank you, sir. That was awesome input. And safe travels. We'll say you're heading to the airport, but as long as you stay on, we'll continue to greet you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, a little bit there. Go ahead.
All right, you can hear me? Okay, outstanding. Okay, so just to add on to what already been discussed on developing, so that's very important that we look at the principles and our what we had to implement when we position. So, and the reason why I bring that up is because we have to be able to stand on each other's shoulders. I had to stand on somebody's shoulders to get to where I'm at, and I have to make sure that I am developing someone else to be able to do the same thing. And I have to be prepared to let somebody stand on my shoulders. In the beginning of the transition as an excellent high priest, I sat down with the officers and our members, and I gave them this article, and it's called Monkey Management. Now, I have this article that you can read. I can give it to Dr. Raul Randall so he can send it out to everyone here on this forum so you can read it yourself. And it's a very critical tool on how to manage each other just by task alone. So, task troop to task. So I'm going to share that with you guys here, and hopefully you can read that. Another thing I wanted to add on is we're talking about communication. We also have to reach back to our blue body and reach back to them because they're our foundation, and those are the sources that we're pulling from. So I've developed a letter called a letter to Masons, and so they can be exposed to this information that is being guarded or kept secret. That's another point that you guys hit, which was which possibly stifling some of our growth because people are gatekeeping. Gatekeepers can be good and negative, but if you find out that it's negative, then there's a blind spot that you have because we all have blind spots. We can't do everything ourselves by ourselves. We need help. We need cooperation to feed from our pipeline. Essentially, that is our pipeline to feed the rest of these York Rite bodies and, of course, the Scottish Rite bodies. Opening that discussion in those lower levels in our foundation is critical. So thank you for having me here today. And that was an outstanding presentation. And it's reinvigorating to hear something like that presentation and gives me some more focus. And I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. And we thank everybody that was here today. We hope to grow this to 400 on the call. I know I could host 300 and we'll extend it. But thank you guys for all. Thanks first and foremost to Dr. Pace. Give it up for him. Hell of a presentation. And we're going to conclude with prayer. We're going to start in prayer. And we're going to conclude with prayer. Again, this is the Holy Royal Arch Masons. And this series will go every other month. But like I said, within the next 24 hours, this will be hosted on YouTube. We pray everybody will be back in November. And obviously we're trying to do this right before the holidays. And so we won't take out any holidays. But Reverend Dr. Mack, sir, if you would just take us out in prayer, we would appreciate that.
And right before Dr. Matt, companions, it is no disrespect to y'all titles or anything like that. The lecture team just wanted to do their best to stay true to time. Right. So again, no disrespect to anyone's titles. I see the Grand King is on here and Dr. Mack and several of you from distinguished positions. So thank you, lecture team. Dr. Mack, if you would.
Yes, sir. Companions, before we close out, I don't know if there was anybody who's had a recent death or have bereavement in your family. So if you have, before we close this prayer, from North Carolina into this grand body, we are praying for you. You're not by yourself. So you took the time to be on this call. I know Sean didn't ask me to say this, but I just want to let you know, if you took time out, you have that going on in your life and your family, we are praying with you because that's what we're supposed to do as holy men, is to bring in prayer for you. So if you took time to get on this call and you have trouble in your household or our bereavement in your household, we are praying for you. So don't think you just got on this call and you're going away not being covered. And why I'm saying that, our 33rd in North Carolina, Richard R. Peeler, will be funeralizing an uncle this week. So if any of y'all have contacts with Peeler, just let him know that you're praying for him. His uncle's name is James Peeler. And so with that being said, great presentation. I leave here full, just like I do on church on Sunday. I'm glad that I came. I'm glad that somebody said, let us go to the house of the Lord, because I'm leaving better from whence we've come. And if you don't take away anything from this, pray on it and ask God to reveal you what you didn't get on the call, that you get it a little later down the road. It's just like a church service. You didn't get it when you left church, but it eventually come to you. Just ask him to reveal it, unpack it for you, as we say. With that being said, let us pray. Gracious and eternal Father, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for this space. We thank you for giving us the fortitude to make technology work for us when we don't have to get in our cars and drive to go see one another. To the educators, the lecturers who assemble themselves here and study and listen to that quiet voice on what to share with us today, we say thank you. We are better Holy Royal Arch Masons because we've gathered in this space. Continue to equip them with the tools they would need to help this body to grow to be what she needs to be, reclaim and restore the things that she has lost. As it was said in the lecture series, we're rebuilding a temple, not a physical building, but one that is spiritual. As I said to the church this morning, there's trouble in the land. I wish death on no one, but there's trouble in this land. And let us be like the old high priests of old who will go behind the veil and pray for this nation because this nation's in trouble. And not just this nation, but this world is in trouble because love does not go from heart to heart and breast to breast. It's about I and we and not about us. Bless the homes that are represented here because they took an hour away. They could have been somewhere else. So bless their homes. Bless them in a way that only you can bless them. Give them what they need. And when they lay down in this world tonight, they won't know that they're here, but you will watch over us from the Holy of Holies. You will camp an angel beside us, and in your own due time, great one, that assigned one will touch us and we will rise again. Great one, we understand that we're not to be here forever. It may be one under the sound of my voice that does beckon the call one more time. And this is the last time they will gather as a companion. This is the last time they'll be in this world. To be absent from this body, we pray is to be better and with thee. Until we have been called back and there's need of thee, we count it all joy that we have been here. And these all blessings and our petition we send because Jesus the Christ, his name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
We left here full. I thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Mack. I thank you, everybody. We started with prayer, we ended with prayer, and we had a lot of meat in between those two pieces of bread. So let's go ahead and slice that sandwich up until November, and we'll see all you guys in November. Thank you guys all.
Don't hesitate to send your after action comments.
Please, you guys mostly have my email. Please send it to me. We'll capture that somewhere where it's shared with the body.
Hey, much appreciated, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Randall, can you please send me a text with your Grand High Priest information? I still haven't had a chance to reach out to him yet.
I'll send you his number as soon as we get out.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Right.
sir, and thanks for the invite.
Yep, no problem. Greg, you knocked it out the park. Knocked it out the park, man. Start calling you Aaron Judge.
Hey, the other thing. Hey,
That's Dr. Mack.
Yeah, Dr. Mack asked one.
Okay. Sean, I send it to you
Okay.
so you can forward that out.
No doubt, no doubt. And let's
Mm.
make sure the webmaster get in on there. I see the Grand King is on with his mic off. What you got, Mr. Decker?
Good, sir. I got out of my consistory meeting and ran home to get on here with you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Wonderful class. And I shall be with you again in November.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
young man.
Appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Again, we're leaving the forum open just to chat for a few minutes, but we're concluded. If you guys want to log off, by all means, nobody's holding you. But for the ones that are here, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you again for covering this undertaking. Was well planned out, well strategized, and we will continue to just give us what the Lord has put on our hearts every single episode. I promise you that.
Great job, Jim. Great job. Great job. Y'all batting lead off. Awesome. How y'all feel?
Yeah, I feel that I got a question. When we come around, when we meet, I think in South Carolina, what block of time are you going to set aside for us to do this in person? Because, Dr.
Oh,
Rowland,
yeah.
we were talking earlier about, about the platform, because a lot of times, online is great, but when you start reading those faces and reading the crowd, you can definitely, how can I say, you can slide more. I'm talking to all doctors. That's what's scary.
Second Saturday morning. I'm
So
thinking Saturday morning, Greg.
you know what I'm going with that now. So that would be definitely be a perfect time, because I'm like Dr. Rowland. I move around,
I know how you.
and
So-
sometimes it irks me sitting in one spot, speaking to the camera and all that stuff. But I love to speaking to the individual,
Yeah.
like I said, this definitely good.
That Saturday, Greg, when we come in that morning, everybody's starting to check in and do what they
Right.
do. Y'all leading off with the, we can even, instead of the word workshop, like as we talk about evolution,
Right.
workshop versus, maybe we can keep the word workshop, but maybe it's a collaborative conversation, right? Collaborative conversations, or, because this is that piece is the lecturer's piece in Sean's mind. Right.
Yeah.
But we come together, we have talks, we discuss all the great and wonderful things. If we want to recap some things, y'all, it's a we, but it's y'all. right? It's the lecturers, right? You bringing it then. You either doing an in-person recap of everything you covered over the year, right? Or you're coming with a culminating event for everybody at the conference.
And that's something by the time we get to the conference, which is what, June, we should have a good bit of data to
Yes.
extrapolate and then just kind of give it live that Saturday. The way it was done in St. Louis and that Saturday, I think between Greg, myself, and Julius, let's just come up with a name to rebrand that. I forget what they
Yes.
called it in St. Louis. It was some like educational, whatever. I mean, and even the word college kind of scares people too.
No, and because we want everybody to feel, even though it's the royal art, we want everybody
Yeah.
to feel on the level because we are.
Cool.
So
Cool.
y'all think about that, right? And you think about, just like you did with Signet of Truth, right? You think about what do you think will make folks, when they look at the agenda, because y'all gonna be involved in the agenda, what framing, what wording can we use to say, hey, let me go check that out.
Well, I think the Signet of Truth.
Well, then there you go.
Yeah, I mean, Greg, I don't know what you think, but as he just said that, I just think the Signet of Truth is what it is. They're going to get the truth.
A Signet of Truth in person.
And we've been
Right.
we've been called on to be signets of this body. So again, I don't know. We'll talk to Julius, but
Yeah,
I
man.
personally like the Signet of Truth.
I'm cool with
Same here, because again, Sean, what you're doing now, again, you know me, I'm always,
yeah.
speak the truth. What you're doing now, especially as the elected leader of this organization, you're definitely leading from the front. Because one of the key things that even when I go for the Oklahoma jurisdiction, I always talk about educating, developing, and communicating, because those are critical in Greg Pay's eyes to organizational success.
Sure. Not to cut you off, here's my thing to that. Good leaders also understand, like all of you on here, and Howard, if we didn't let you come off the mic yet because we didn't all started just chatting, let us know. But good leaders know, right, that sometimes you don't have to be out front to be in front. And that's why y'all leading off, right? I don't have to, y'all more than capable. You showed that today, right? So I'm just here as that support and to make sure that we get it where y'all envision it going.
Yeah. Once it goes up on YouTube, it'll be a bigger buzz. And I think just the word will get out from today. It's like 24 at one point.
Yeah, and we know we had some folks, look, we know of the technicalities we had, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We had some folks that were just like Hawaii just finished Grand Lodge session. I think some other states may be observing Prince Hall Day this weekend. I think some other ones may be prepping like you, Raul, getting ready for a session. So, we'll get there.
Oh, good. I'm not worried about it. We've had less with more much of an impact. Howard, I don't know if you had something you were still on.
We'll get to rambling. So, Howard, you got something? Companion Cook?
And that's my guy. That's the OG right there.
Okay.
That's our overseer of the work, Mr. Everything.
Wow.
CLD's overseer of the work. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and just conclude it, but G, we'll talk. If we don't get on the Zoom this week, we'll probably get on the week after. Maybe early in that week before we head out. I'll head out Wednesdays for our session, but try to get on maybe Monday or Tuesday that week.
Works, my brothers. I'm gonna get out y'all here.
Yes, sir.
Y'all have a great weekend, man. This was awesome. Thank you. And then let's make sure that the Grand Webmaster team,